Today, I want to talk about patient drop-offs and the tech side of things and what you could invite yourself to think about when it comes to figuring out these patient drop-offs and what to do. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. So I have a couple things today. We're going to do the usual. We're going to do the life, the business. We're going to do patient drop-off discussion, and it's going to be a little bit, I'll say longer of an episode just because I'm going to recap Switzerland and all that jazz. But first things first, I went to record this episode. It's currently Sunday, July 12th. So I am currently a week ahead, and I had discussed this a couple months ago as far as like what I want to do recording wise for the podcast. And I don't know, a previous version of me decided that before vacation, I was going to pre-record episodes, and which I always do because I always release one on Monday. And I apparently scheduled one out to go out tomorrow. And I didn't realize that until I logged in to record today on Sunday. And I'm thanking the previous version of me because wow, how thoughtful. And I'm also thanking the previous version of me because now I'm officially a week ahead, and I think I might actually keep it this way just because it gives me a little bit of padding as far as recording goes. And I enjoy it. But the thing is I was like, well, I could just not record today, or I could record because I had something on my mind that I wanted to talk about. So I decided to record and stay a week ahead. But that's kind of the summary of where my scheduling is. And I guess let's jump into Switzerland. We went to Switzerland for a total of 8 days. We watched so much volleyball. We had so much fun. We went with a group of people, and the tournament that we went to, we actually went last year as well. And it was so great to go back a second time because we were able to be like the tour guides and like we knew where everything was. There wasn't any guessing. We knew how to get to everywhere. It just made it really easy, honestly. And it is definitely one of those things where, you know, we, for lack of better terms, I had the most fun because you don't have to worry about anything, and you know that everything's taken care of, and getting to show your people the place that you really enjoy. And it was just really, really great. And we ate a ton of food. Europe is always really good on my belly. I have zero complaints. And yeah, travel was great. I will say air travel was really good as well. I know that's always a toss up, and I say this and I always knock on all the wood when I say it, but I don't, typically have flight delays and craziness. We had a minor delay in LA to get to Canada, and we had a really short layover in Canada to then go to Geneva. And I definitely had a little bit of anxiety, but that dissipated once we were on the second plane. I will be real. If there's a layover, I'm not relaxed until we're on the second plane, and the second plane is in the air, just because there's so much that can go wrong before then, which is such an interesting way to live my life, but I digress. So there's that. Next, I want to actually ask you to do something for me. So I don't typically ask for this, and I don't typically look at these, and I don't typically call attention to people who are just looking for it. But if you listen to my podcast on Apple Podcasts, you can actually leave words and leave a recommendation or tell me exactly why you hate my podcast, for lack of better terms. And I read a recent review yesterday. I actually sent it to my friend who listens to my podcast, so she knows who she is. And you know, I sent her screenshots, and I was like, go off. But 9 months ago, apparently someone left a review of my podcast that basically just tells me you're not my person. And it, again, like, I don't take these reviews. These reviews are mostly about them, not me. And also this person is clearly not in my ecosystem. They must have found me from somewhere else and then tried my podcast out and just didn't bother to, I will say, care about me as a human. She just wanted me to give her information, or I'm saying her, it could have been a her, him, they, whatever. This person, because I don't know who they are, because they don't use their name to leave reviews. That's usually how people do that when they leave negative things. But the review they left was really, I don't even know what they were going for, but 9 months later, I have officially read the review and just, I think it further reiterates the point that I have always made. One is that when you make art and someone, this is like a Brene Brown classic, right? Like the person who's not in the ring does not, it's actually a quote from someone else that Brene uses in her work, but, and I don't have all of the references in front of me, so forgive me. But people who are not in the ring don't get to judge what you do. 1. 2, art is very personal, and releasing a podcast, writing a newsletter, putting posts on Instagram, putting posts up on Instagram for other people to read. That's all art that I create. And it's one of those things where it's like, that's my art. And it's always a vulnerable thing. And if someone tells you it's not vulnerable to share, I don't really think they're in tune with what they're actually doing. So it's always vulnerable to share something that you create and to create something that didn't exist before. So it's always kind of jarring when someone is like, I hate your art. And it's just a personal opinion. Again, it's more about them than it is about me. And 3, I will say, like, after reading that review, it just pushes me back to my ethos and just reminding myself that this is not transactional. Most of the things that I do, I understand I sell things, and I have courses, I have products, I have different coaching calls, I have retainers. So yes, I do have a business, but recording the podcast, I'm never on here most times selling you on something. And my existence is not solely here to just, for lack of better terms, be of use to you. And I appreciate when people take interest in me as a human, not just in what I can provide you. So the comments on there were very, very interesting, just because it's like, so I didn't provide you with enough value fast enough, and that's why you don't like me, which is, again, I'm like, okay, go listen to something else. Genuinely, I don't care what you think. And also, the reason why I'm bringing it up and bringing attention to it is because I do want you to, if you're ever creating something and you have your business, you have the thing, just recognize that your people will find you, and the people who are not for you will quickly go away. And that's a blessing. And again, like, you can't cater to everyone. You don't want to cater to everyone. And also, if I'm in the business of being a human, I'm in the business of exchanging things about me as a human. And I am not someone who is just going to, like, for lack of better terms, exist as this, I don't know, educational resource that you don't even care who's talking. It just feels so weird to me to think that I could ever just exist as a free knowledge resource and someone just doesn't give a shit about me as a human. I understand that there are probably people who are like that, but like when someone leaves a review to that extent and lets me know that I didn't give them enough value fast enough, and they didn't care about my intro, my life and business update, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not for you. And that's perfect. Don't ever listen again. Genuinely. And also leave your name next time. So, by not leaving your name under the review, that says a lot to me. But also I want to just say, I love Amy Poehler's Good Hang podcast, and they referenced Good Hang. They were like, if I wanted this type of stuff, I would just listen to Good Hang. Well, to even be mentioned in the same statement as Amy Poehler's Good Hang, I'm going to take that as a win. But anyway, the ask for you after all this rambling is, if you would mind, wouldn't mind leaving me a written review on Apple, I would genuinely appreciate it. If you enjoyed this podcast, if I provide any value to you, if you think it's helpful, if you hate the podcast, cool. Like, you can also leave a review there. I don't want to, won't hold you to leaving a positive one, but if you wouldn't mind leaving a positive review, a negative review, whatever, tell me what you think. I do read the reviews, even though this one was read 9 months later. Every once in a while, I will go check them. So just recognize I do read them. They do matter to me. And I also think that, reviews in any way, shape, or form are helpful, whether it's just a reality check that I'm doing my job, or if it's something that I need to change, whatever. If you told me the sound is terrible, like, I would listen. So anyway, if you wouldn't mind leaving me a review, whatever that review is, I genuinely appreciate it. You can leave stars, but you can also write something. And when you write something, it does help because it only shows, the most recent ones, if you will. So I would just like to weed out the one that clearly was a person who is not my people, which is perfect. So anyway, that's what I've got for the ask for you and the long drawn out response of, and letting you know, like, sometimes you're going to have that happen and it's your art, and it's so disheartening that people critique people's art and want a transactional relationship in such a transactional world. Like, how do you not want to escape from that? But that's to each their own, right? Everybody's going to live their life the way they want to live their life and what feels good for them. And I'm just so glad that I'm not for that person, because wow, that's really unfortunate for them. With that being said, I believe that's really all the big things that I wanted to cover before I jumped into the episode. And I'm looking forward to trying out this whole being 1 week ahead. I just watched Moose go underneath my chair, under a chair she does not fit in. I'm not entirely sure what she's doing right now. But she's in a space where she does not fit, and she's making it work, but okay. This dog, man, is so silly. I'm taking a picture really quick. Okay, I'm back. So again, like, this is real. You want that edited podcast crap? Go ahead, do your thing. But I'm like, I'm actually being a human. The reviews kill me. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that I have been thinking about, and a story of mine regarding this when I was a PT, and something that you can think about. Again, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm not here to be your business coach. I'm not here to tell you that what you do is wrong, right, whatever. What I'm going to share is just my thoughts around something and my experience with drop-offs, patient drop-offs, what have you, and just some ideas around it that have come up in the tech side of things when I chat with business owners. So the things that I want to talk about, one is drop-off. So drop-offs when a patient stops coming to their sessions, right? So they come to your PT clinic, they see your provider 1, 2, 3, 4 times. They don't come back for visit 5, or they don't schedule visit 5. They drop off. The problem is that the patient may not have come for the full plan of care, quote unquote. The secondary problem would just be like, you want to know why, and you're wondering, well, why did you not continue on? And 3, I guess, is your PT, or you as the PT, depending on who you are. If it's your PT who is working with this person, or you might just be wondering, how can I get this person back into the clinic to continue their plan of care? So I'm going to first start with one story about this, which is, again, it's an N=1 story. And 2, I think that it's really important. You can probably take a moment to think about when this happened to you as well. So I recall there was a person that I saw who came to see me for a very specific issue, and she very active human. She did CrossFit. She was all about health, wellness, and all that jazz, but just wanted a little help. Now, when it came to her plan of care, she came in for one thing. She did quote unquote need assistance with other things. So in my mind, when I was thinking about working with her, it was like, okay, we're going to start here, but we'll probably end up here, here, and here. Cool. Well, when it comes down to like treating people, you typically have a time period in your mind where you're like, all right, well, typically this will take this long. This will then take this long, yada, yada. She came to see me for, I think, 3 visits. And she actually didn't schedule a 4th visit. I remember this very clearly. She didn't schedule the 4th visit. And it had been like a month or 2 out from that 3rd visit. And in my mind, I was like, I have not seen this person in a long time, because again, like, I do believe all the time you're bogged down in stats, you could just go treat another human or go make a visit to a local business, whatever. So I was never like bogged down in stats. And I'll talk about that in a second, but I remember not hearing from this person, and I just shot them a text, said, hey, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to check in on you. And she said, like, I feel amazing. I am in the clear. I feel like I haven't, felt this good in a long time, yada, yada, yada. So she simply just stopped coming because she felt better and just didn't let me know, which again, like, she could have let me know, but didn't need to. Like, that's not her responsibility, whatever. So we figured it out, right? Now, another, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because this has probably happened to you. So this is not revolutionary. I recognize this is probably, you're like, duh, this happens all the time. Okay. So then the flip side of this is when I was working for a clinic, I had a patient who came to see myself. They may have seen a different PT before. I don't recall. Either way, they came in for a plan of care. The plan of care was X amount of visits because it was an insurance-based clinic. So it was X amount of visits in a certain amount of time. And they stopped coming like halfway through. My employer at the time actually asked me what I did to make them not come back. And I remember, and it actually ended up starting as like, they called in and they're like, hey, I don't think I need to come in today. I'm not really feeling great. Don't want to come in. They canceled the visit. And then that spot like was open. And then the next time they had another scheduled, because I rescheduled them, they ended up canceling again. And then they just like stopped coming. And I was asked, like, what did you do to make that person not come back? And what ended up happening was, I don't remember exactly the turn of events, but I feel like either I sent an email to the patient, or I don't think we could text. I don't think there was a texting option. It was just an email option. And I remember her saying like, no, I just feel good. Like, I just didn't come back because I feel good. And sometimes the touch point doesn't happen, and the personal touch point doesn't happen. And I feel like there's like a big opportunity for that, which I'll focus on in a second. But I wanted to just share that because I think we miss the opportunity for people to just be a human and allow them to behave in the way that makes the most sense to them. So if they're spending money, they're coming to see you, they're paying X, Y, and Z dollars, and they either feel better, they're in a place where they feel comfortable. They might not feel 100%, but they feel 89%, and that's good enough for them. Whatever situation they're in, they're going to make the decision as an adult to potentially stop coming to see you. And I think that specific thing, if we really sit down and think about it, isn't that great? Like, we're allowing people to have the autonomy to say, I'm done now. I'm good. I feel good. Like, I don't need someone who's taking up that spot, who feels good, who doesn't want to be there, if I have someone waiting on my wait list who does want to be there. So the reason why I want to talk about drop-offs is because I think one of the common things that people invest in is some sort of email automation for a drop-off. And they essentially opt into a CRM of sorts that will email people or text people, or I will say that when I was talking about this with someone else, they were like, harass people when they don't come in. And at the end of the day, and also I've had this happen too. Like, my dentist, I've had this happen with a dentist in the past, and like, they call you and they're like, when are you coming in? Like, I know I have to come in. I'll make the appointment when I want to make the appointment. And this is like obviously years and years and years ago, but I just think that when you invest in these types of things, you have to understand the experience that you're creating. Now, I do believe that at any given moment, if we run our business in the same way we think about everything else and letting people have the autonomy to make the choice that they need to make, then you can just release yourself of so much responsibility. And what I mean by that is people are going to choose whether or not they continue to come to see you in your clinic, and they're going to make a decision for themselves. They are adults. We should not have to babysit someone to make their next appointment. Like, plain and simple. And I talk about this with a couple of my clients too. It's like, I don't care if someone doesn't want to make their appointment with me in the clinic and they decide they're going to make it on their own and they don't make it. That to me is a signal that it's either not at the top of their radar. They may not have the time. They may be overloaded, whatever it is. And like, you have to release the responsibility to manage that person. And the thing is like, that's where people, I think, burn themselves out, where they're trying to manage all of these full ass adults that are coming into their clinic. And, you can say like, oh, they forgot to make an appointment. Sure. But I am not going to forget about my knee pain. Like, when I feel terrible, I'm not forgetting about that. So if they're choosing to not come see you, even though they are openly in pain, then they're making a choice. Whereas like, if they're feeling good and they don't schedule with you and now you're harassing them to schedule, it's like, well, maybe they're going to come in just because they feel guilty that they didn't make that appointment. But at the end of the day, they didn't actually need that last appointment. So it's one of those things where when we talk about drop-offs and we're talking about how can we mitigate the drop-offs and get people to stay as long as we can, like, what happened to the mission of like, I'm going to help you not need me. I remember when I first graduated PT school, it was like the whole goal of being a PT was to make people not be dependent on you. And, some people will be your lifers. They'll come in every day. They'll be your membership people, whatever. I get it. We have the membership option, the strength training option. Yes, I get it. And also, like, what happened to allowing people to make that decision on their own, and two, to make it so that they don't need you? And also, we don't know, when you're a PT, when you're deciding like, hey, I think it's going to be 6 to 8 visits. It could end up being 10. It could end up being 4. Like, we can't accurately predict every single patient and how they're going to respond to different treatments, because also everybody's lifestyle outside the clinic is different. What brought them in, how long they've been dealing with it, yada, yada. There's a ton of personal factors that go into play. So we can't exactly determine, oh, it's going to be 3 weeks. It's going to be 5 weeks. It's going to be 6 weeks. But at the end of the day, if someone says, wow, it's been 3 weeks and I feel awesome, I'm going to not come see you again. What I would say is that's a great opportunity to, yes, sure, touch base with them, but make it a personalized text, make it a personalized email. I don't think it needs to be this like email marketing system-esque or text marketing-esque system. It can be a super personal text. And that means a lot more to me. If I were a patient and I was receiving a text from my PT, I would want to be like, oh, they know they're referring to me as a human, not just me as a number. They're referencing my knee pain. They're referencing the last time we talked, you were doing this, you were going on this trip, whatever. It's a personalized text. I think like in this day and age, there are so many people relying on like AI and automations. And I do think there are some things that cannot be automated. And two things are true here, whether it's you as the PT or your PTs and you're the boss, we keep track of our patients. If I was a PT underneath my boss when I was working for a different clinic, I was keeping track of every patient I had. Whatever system you have, everybody has their own little system, whether it's a notepad, you have a little doc in your computer, whatever it is. Everybody has a patient list, and you're keeping track of when those people come in, when they don't come in. And then all it's a job for your physical therapist to then send someone a personalized text or a personalized email when they don't come in to check in on them. Hey, how you doing? Last time we chatted, this is it. Just wanted to check in on you. Give them the opportunity to say like, oh yeah, I'm feeling great. I don't need to come in again. You did an awesome job. Cool. Then you can follow that up with, oh, well, I am so glad to hear that. Thank you so much for letting me know. Sad that I won't see you again, but blah, blah, blah. And then you can also ask for a Google review if you wanted to, if they're happy with, the outcome. You can send them a personalized email, whatever it is. And if you as the clinic owner are the PT, you're also keeping track of your personalized patients, your personal patients, the people that you are seeing. And when you do that, and that is part of our job, when you're doing that, because you're not just a number, right? So I just think that it frustrates me to no end, because I'm like, when I think about creating a business, you don't want people to be a number. You want people to be a person. And when we invest in automations and tech that essentially converts humans to numbers, I'm like, you're doing your business a huge disservice. Like, that person is going to remember that automated text way longer than they'll, think about that personalized text that you sent to them that made them feel good, right? They're gonna be like, oh man, that's like a text that everybody got. It's a robot text. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if someone ignored it. And, I think we think of drop-offs as this has like a negative connotation to it in general. And I think a drop-off, I do think we can reframe that to just be like, hey, someone didn't come in for a bit. We got to figure that out. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And removing the expectation that it's, that they have to come back, and, not extending plans of care for longer than it needs to be. Because if someone isn't knocking down your door to come in, it's really tough to be like, well, I really think you should come in for another visit. I really think it's the best opportunity for us to do this. And like, if you want to do this thing, I got to make sure I see you again. Like, why would we want to do that? It just doesn't even, I personally don't think it feels good. It's also a values thing. It's a personal choice, but I don't want to work with someone who's like wishy-washy on if they want to be there. So at the end of the day, my whole point with this is to just invite you to think about drop-offs as not something that has a negative connotation to it. It could just be, well, someone got better faster, or they feel like they don't necessarily need this service, or they can't fit this service into their life right now. They're making that decision as a full functioning adult. Number two, thinking about this as we are adults who are practitioners who are keeping track of our patients, whether you're the PT or your PTs are the PT. We all keep track of our people, and you can only do so much. You do not need to manage other full ass humans. The full humans that are coming to see you for treatment, you don't need to manage their entire life. And releasing the expectation that you have to, and making sure that you're like on top of everything they're doing and when they're scheduling and whatever, like that can be, it can be very freeing to release that and put the demand on them, put the request to book online, do whatever they need to do, come in when they can, put that on them and allow them to decide if they're going to make this a priority or not. And honestly, number three, everything cannot be automated. Everything cannot be done by a robot. Everything cannot be so impersonal and automated and triggered by a number of visits that people didn't come see you or how many cancellations they had. Some things just have to be personalized, and the personalized route, in my opinion, is always the way to go, because people are going to remember that. They're going to think about the time where you checked in on them and you gave them the permission that they needed to just say like, hey, look, I'm good. And you didn't pressure them into finishing out that plan of care that you planned for them when their body responded in a way that was favorable for a lesser plan of care. And allowing them to be the full human that they are, have the autonomy that they have, and decide that they're done. And letting that be okay, and letting it not fall as a judgment on you or your PTs or your practice. It's just that person has decided that at this present moment in time, they have seen you for enough visits to feel good enough to continue on with their life. And if they feel not 100%, and you allow them the time, the space, the energy to have life the way that they're living right now, they will likely call you again when they're ready to get more help. And allowing us, and as practitioners, your practitioners, to not have to manage that is like a huge, huge game changer. That is not your responsibility to make sure everybody everywhere is always checked in on. And you might be thinking, well, duh, that's why I have an automation. Go back to number 3. Some things cannot be automated. Some things need to be personalized check-ins. And if at any point in time you're a PT and you're treating humans, if you're in a cash-based practice, you probably don't have more than 35 patients at a time, which means you have that list, maybe 40, maybe 45. I get it. But maybe you have that patient list and you're like, oh, well, I haven't seen Jerry in 3 weeks. Wonder what Jerry's up to. I'm going to text Jerry and give that personalized text. I'm going to email Jerry, whatever. So just allowing that to be personalized and not falling into the system of, oh, well, I have to allow that automated system to email him. And, I'm sitting here, and as I'm saying this, like, I recognize that I'm asking you to do more work. I'm asking you to put that automated text on your plate to send to them. Sure, like, you could actually decide, to be blatantly honest with you can just decide if someone doesn't book again and they fall off, they don't come back, they could just like be done. You don't have to check in on them. So that's it. Like, whatever you want to do. But that extra task of putting that on your plate and doing a personalized check-in, it is so much more important than, one of the tasks that you're likely doing that doesn't necessarily move the needle or expand relationships. Because that personalized text, the personalized email will bring you much further than, putting effort into something that is going to make you like the systematized approach, the insurance-based, if you will, approach that everyone is so sick of, the you're just a number approach. If we're going to be owning this clinic, doing these things, and have this mission where our patients are people and not numbers, then let's allow us to have the space in our schedule to treat those humans like humans, right? So have the admin hour, whatever it takes. I don't know how you pay your people. I don't know how you pay yourself, whatever that means, but have the space to allow you to operate in your business so that you can treat people like the humans that they are, rather than putting them and stuffing them into some automation system. And to be blatantly honest with my practice owners, when you have 6 PTs underneath you, this is where delegation comes in, and this is where allowing people to own up to their mistakes comes in. Like, at some point, you can't manage, if you have 4 PTs and each PT has 40 patients, it can be tough to be like, I have 200 patients to manage, right? Allowing your PTs to have the responsibility of managing their own patients in a way that makes sense, of sending that text when they haven't seen them in a bit or whatever. Like, I do think that is allowable. And I cannot say that I have experience doing that, because I specifically do not want to manage people. Never wanted to have multiple PTs. Never, ever, ever. I will say that when it was myself and my partner in the business together, he managed his schedule, I managed my patients. Like, it was never a dual, like, I'm going to manage everything, until I dropped my caseload very low and became like the practice manager, if you will. So again, it's just allowing the space to give the humanness and keep the humanness in the business. And I can't speak to a big, large clinic managing 15 PTs. I can't. And that's not my forte. There are plenty of people who can speak to it, but I will just say, like, I think at some point we have to decide what we're willing to sacrifice and when we can bring in the automations and the robots, and where that actually makes sense, and where it would make more sense to throw in a human touch point rather than something automated. And that's like, as far as I really want to talk about, as far as managing, the big clinics, if you will, and having many practitioners underneath the clinic manager or clinic owner. Alrighty, I feel like that's all I've got for you. At the end of the day, I'm always just like, if you're not knocking on my door and knocking it down to work with me, I'm not here to coerce you into booking a session or booking with me, or, believing that there's a little bit more work that we could do. Like, I want you to always come to that conclusion yourself. And I feel like when you allow that to be the case, you open up more time, energy, and space to put your effort into something else that can help you further down the road too. You can go to a clinic and touch base with an owner. You can go to a local exercise studio, whatever you see fit that would help your business. But we're just so far bogged down into what patients dropped off our schedule this week. To me, it can just feel like micromanaging full humans. And I don't think we should be. I personally don't feel like that's necessary and a very great use of our time. And I really don't think it's a good use of automations and automated texts and emails and what have you. All right, friends, that's all I've got for you. I'd love to hear from you. If you're a clinic owner and you're managing many PTs, I'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you like to do? What makes the most sense for you? If you're a PT practice and you're a solo practitioner and you have your thoughts on this, like, let me know. I'd love to hear. And thank you again for leaving reviews, writing reviews, leaving the stars, whatever you choose to do. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for listening to the rant on, what I'm going to say the unfortunateness it is that people, leave reviews and expect this to be just a transactional relationship. It feels kind of icky. And I'm just really glad that the folks who are listening to this section of the podcast are not those people. And I appreciate you. All right, friends, thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.